We're hanging out with Conrad Anker. He's my co-host this morning, and we're talking about climbing and life and being here in the mountains. And I know just from my limited experience with climbing that it can be isolated sometimes, but it's also very much about teamwork and learning from other people. And I know for you, you had a really important mentor. His name was Mug Stump. And can you tell me a little bit about him, who he was, why he was important to you?
He was about 14 years older than I am, and I met him in Utah. He was living there after a few significant climbs, and he had played football at Penn State and went semi-pro and was a great football player, but had discovered climbing. And in that, a lot of the lessons he had learned in football, although he didn't like it much anymore, he was able to share with me. And so it was something that really changed my life, and now I get to mentor the next generation, so it's coming full circle.
Now, you're here in Breckenridge because of the North Face Speaker Series, and you're specifically telling us about one of your adventures to Meru. And how did Mugs influence your expedition to this amazing place more than once?
Yes, it was initially, it came out in the climbing knowledge with Mountain magazine, which is this magazine no longer in print out of England, and it was on one of the covers, and everyone was like, oh, that's it, because it was sort of where climbing could go. And so there was many expeditions that tried. Muggs had been on there twice. He perished in a crevasse fall in 1992 in Alaska. And so then I came there in 2003 and had the first go at it, and it was 3 expeditions spread out over 8 years before I eventually made it to the summit.
I wanted to ask you about your third and final attempt of Meru, or at least up until this point. It was in 2012. And what took place? You've tried it twice. It didn't work out. You were within 300 feet, 400 feet of the top. The last time you had to turn back. What was going through your mind?
Well, the next year, a friend of mine, of all of ours from Slovenia, Silva Carl, went there, and we're like, oh, great, he'll climb it. And then, because everyone had tried this until it had been climbed, it was a big prize for climbing. We're like, oh yeah, Silva's going to climb it, and then we don't have to go. But he didn't. He got turned back. So then the fire burned hotter, and I had to just commit to going back. So, and it was a challenging trip. A couple of reasons. One, Renan had an accident in March, and then.
And this is one of your climbing partners that has been with you.
Yeah, and he was with us in 2008, and he injured himself skiing. So it was his comeback on that was, it was good, and it was sort of. Life is coincidences. I don't read into things in any one way or another, but sometimes when all the coincidences and timings all come together, it's a great thing. And for Renan to make it to the summit with us was really a special moment.
And I know that from his injury, it was a big head injury. Just coming back from that alone would be a massive feat. But then this guy recovers, and you take him to the top of this mountain in India, and I know that there were some challenges with that. And I also know that for him, that the fact that you believed that he could do it was a huge part in his recovery. Can you tell me a little bit about that teamwork aspect and why that is so important when you're climbing?
Yeah, it's when you're climbing on these bigger climbs, you have to trust in your partner 100%. So it's the ultimate team sport. So if you hoard the food or let go of the rope, we're both hooped, right? So you have to share the food, and you have to make sure you don't drop the rope. It's like a climber's worst nightmare is you drop the rope and you're on the side of the cliff and you can't get down.
Right.
So that's always like the big no-no. So that's like the core of teamwork, and yet within that, we can take away from it when you're at home and you know that you can do something, and you can then encourage someone that's in that, and that's what teachers do. So you're good at math, and now you can learn more, and you encourage them to push themselves. And I think that's was one of the great takeaways of climbing.
And so you've worked as a team, you've attempted this mountain twice before, you get there with these guys that you've worked so hard with. What did it feel like to be at the top of this particular mountain on this expedition after so much has gone into it?
It was it was a unique moment. It was on October 2nd. It was the same birth date of Gandhi, so it's a national holiday in India. Everyone celebrates that day.
And what does this mountain mean to people in India?
Going back to Hindu mythology, there's the source of the Ganga River is there. It's between Bhagirathi and Shivling, and Shivling is the abode of Lord Shiva, and behind that is Meru, which is referred to as the center of the universe. So it has great spiritual connection to Hinduism, and then it also transferred over into Buddhism through Angkor Wat, which was referred to as Center of the Universe. So it has kind of a neat aspect in a cultural sense, and then with that, ensuring that we were doing the right thing, communicating with the priests there in the Gangotri area, and to say, is it an okay thing to go climb there? Because you want to be mindful and respect that. And if anyone has a spiritual connection to the mountain and asks climbers not to go there, by and large, we always follow that rule. And we're proud of that as part of what we do. But this one was, they were like, yeah, go up there and tell us what you see. Bring us back a rock.
So you get up there, it's a national holiday.
Yeah.
You're in the center of the universe. What did it feel like to stand up there and to know that you had made it? What was that feeling like?
Well, it was sort of this weight that weighs nothing had been lifted. So now it was sort of a culmination too. I was age 49 at the time, and I had all the climbing that I'd put together. This was sort of and it brought to closure this dream that Muggs had started, and he'd passed to me as a mentor, and then I was able to share it with mentor to Renan and Jimmy, who are both younger than I am.
So quite the expedition. I know that that from some of your adventures that you also have pieces of them at home in your gear room, and that you keep certain things and carabiners from friends you've lost. Is there anything that you saved from this trip that's part of that little area in your home?
Yeah, I have a small soda pop bottle of water from Gamuk, and so all the devout Hindus take a splash of water and take it home and have that. So it's a water from the source of the Ganges River, and it's in a humble 7-Up bottle or something. And so and a couple of souvenirs, but probably the most significant thing on this was the memories. And then with Jimmy and Renan being excellent cinematographers, being able to capture that, which will live a lot longer than I will. I mean, it's a story now. Hopefully we share it and we pass it on.